30.
20.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1. Ignition sequence start.
This is just the beginning.
Are you ready?
Here comes the best part.
1, 2, 3,
go.
Life Matters, a 5-time winner of the best morning show in Wisconsin. Hosted by Nancy Douglas and Tom Giovanoni.
All of you, get ready.
Life Matters begins on Lake 96.1.
Morning.
I'm ready. No, I'm not ready.
Is it Sunday?
3, 2, 1.
Why am I here?
4, 3, 2, 1. Anyway. Welcome to Life Matters on this fine Sunday morning. Second Sunday of the year.
26.
Yes. We are very excited. Have you showered yet? Do you have water?
No.
Great. 'Cause didn't it go out like on
No, we're up
Thursday?
and running.
Ew.
Yeah, no, we're up and running. We're only down for a day.
See, you don't realize what you don't have. Now, welcome to what my life was.
Oh, yeah. We've been there before.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know?
Part of living in the country.
Not quite a week, but on Saturday, next Saturday, I will have owned the house for a year.
Yeah, that's crazy that it's been a year already.
Mm-hmm. January 17th.
Look how far you've
Closed
come.
on January 17th. Actually, you would be surprised. It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. So, but I do have to tell you a story that you're not going to find funny because you know that you're going to end up maybe helping with this. But, and this is news to you, I know. So I don't know if I told the story on the show about getting my washer dryer combo.
Right.
What we call the Dosher.
Yeah, we talked about the
Did we talk
Dosher.
about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I love the thing.
We talked about that too.
You put the clothes in, you program it, it washes it, it dries it. It's all one machine. People have their doubts about it. I do not.
So you've been using the Dosher.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It is working awesome for you.
It really is. Now, remember, we're a 2-person household.
Mm-hmm.
So I can literally just take, 2 days worth of clothes, towels and everything, throw them all in at once. I mean, as long as there's nothing special in there.
Right.
Or super dirty like Ty gets, and then,
That's why you go down to the laundromat.
Right, and then he can go to laundromat. But and you turn it on when you leave for work, you get home from work, or when you go to bed and when you wake up and it's done. It's dry and everything. Now, one of the things that people say is because of the way this thing works, like we didn't have to cut a dryer vent into the house, so we didn't
That's
have to cut
amazing.
another hole in the house. It's completely electric, just plugs in with a regular plug,
That's crazy.
no big special plugs, anything like that. I am very happy with it. These models, they're like 5 years old or so. So many of the kinks have been worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found any problems with it so far.
Well, that's good.
I'm stunned at the amount of lint in my clothes because this uses more of a forced air to dry.
So you're getting more lint in your lint screen.
So, oh my God, like the dog hair is
Save
disgusting.
that stuff. You can use it for insulation.
Ew. The dog hair is horrible. So I don't know how, like I get a dog's worth of dog hair in every lint
You
clean.
got 2 dogs.
Yeah, but where's their hair going? Like
On your clothes?
Anyway, it is. So
Obvious.
anyway, but but all that tells me is that it's working really well. It's, right. It's cleaning, it's drying, and when you pull the clothes out, they feel wet still. So like if you take a towel out, you kind of shake it a couple times and it's dry. It's just because of the way this thing works. And they warn you about that. They say when you open it, the one thing people complain about the most is that when you open the dryer and you go to reach in your clothes, they feel wet. They feel damp still. They're not. It's psychological, I swear.
Well, are you opening a washing machine or are you opening a dryer?
Both. Because there's only
So
one
if
door.
you are on the mindset of my clothes are in the washing machine, but you're actually pulling them out of the dryer, they could still feel wet because psychologically you're thinking they're in a washing machine.
I think it's psychological. I don't know because I mean it's just the way the thing works.
Everybody should go buy one and experience it.
It's seriously. However, remember I told you the story about how this thing weighs 302 pounds. Mm-hmm. So it took 4 guys to get it up the stairs.
Right. Minor damage.
And very minor damage, all completely fixable damage. But what we did not account for was vibration upstairs.
Okay.
And so, as you know, when I first got it, I had stocked up on some laundry because I was sick of going to the laundromat.
Right.
God loved the laundromat. I really loved it,
Yep.
but I do not love it. Not in the winter. In the summertime, taking your clothes back and forth and dealing with that, no problem. But in the wintertime, dragging it through the snow and no, I was over it.
Don't you carry it like in a basket?
I had a wagon I was using to go back and forth. Anyway. So we did not account for the vibration upstairs, and the ceiling in the what is going to be like the library, the study kind of room, the bar kind of study room, has a few cracks in it.
You're kidding me.
No.
It can't vibrate that bad.
Oh, yes, it can.
It's
now,
not
here's my
balanced.
theory, though. It is balanced. It is totally
I
balanced.
would assume not well.
But, well, here's my theory. It's not about the machine. It's about the floor upstairs. First of all, that floor is one of the ones that was the squeakiest, okay? Meaning that the actual, and this is an original wood floor.
Right.
Okay? So one of the reasons why that these floors are, that your floors are squeaky is when they have pulled up
Yeah, they loosen
from
up.
the cross beams, right? So that's part of it, is that where this is sitting, there are some planks of that original, now remember, original wood floor that are not attached to the beam, or weren't, because guess what I did? My husband's out of town, so I went ahead and did some of them
Screwed the
myself.
floor
I
down?
screwed the floor down. Heck yeah, I did. And I'm not stupid. I know to countersink the screws so I can repair the wood, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I've been doing this for a while. So, and that actually helped. I did a load of laundry after that, and that actually helped because you have to think about that the planks are like vibrating, and so they're hitting the cross beam underneath it, and not just vibrating all together and having more of a strength. So I do believe that I solved some of that problem. My husband, again, sells construction equipment. He was telling his brother about it, and they have something that isolates that vibration for some machinery, and just in case. And so what he's going to do is, when we get these things,
Like rubber feet.
basically, yeah. And so then he has to build some kind of a little platform for it, and then we'll have to muscle that thing up onto somehow, get this underneath it. We can do it if we tip it sideways and stuff. That's not a big deal.
A couple straps.
Right. And so we do believe that we have solved this problem. Although waiting for him to build this platform, I mean, you think that, he'll start it and then he'll finish it in about 10 years. So we
Give me some dimensions.
no, honestly. So I do believe, but so I did not, because here's the thing too. This thing spins way more, like longer and harder, because
Probably
it's got to dry it. It's got to
Right.
spin dry it more because of the fact that it's not
Get more
drying like
water
a
out.
normal, right. So we did not account for that. That ceiling had cracks in it already, just because it's 140 years old or however old it is.
Well, lath and plaster needs maintenance.
And it never got any. And so he says, this wasn't there and this wasn't there. I don't think that it caused as many cracks as what he said, stop using it altogether. And I was like, no, I'm not going to stop using it. So again, while he was gone, I went through and I walked on these planks individually. And when one even moved or squeaked or whatever, and it got screwed down. So yeah, so no, I don't. I
just got a visual.
Listen,
Sorry.
I'm not reckless about it, okay? I know to go, you look for where the nails are, and that's
I'm
where your
happy you-
cross beam is. It's not I'm not stupid. And then,
Never accused you of that.
countersink the screw. I used, good screws, but kind of skinny, so I wasn't super, but, long enough, but
Did you-
not 6 inches long. Like,
Did you pre-drill it with a countersink bit?
yes.
Excellent.
Yes. I mean,
good.
it wasn't a countersink because I had to use 3 different pieces. I have to use the drill bit and then the countersink bit.
Okay, so you just use a bigger bit. to create your countersink.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
No,
thing.
I have a countersink bit. I have
It's the
one.
same
It
thing.
just doesn't have a drill bit in the middle of it like I would love to have, but I don't have one. So I had to use 3 different. Yep.
Secret
but I did
Santa
it.
idea.
I know. Well, actually, I got a few like tools, like little sets of tools and stuff for in my stocking, quote unquote, for Christmas.
Cool.
That I haven't opened yet, and I bet if I looked in there, there's probably one in there. So I should have used
Little
it. But
sinuses get to work.
yeah, so so that's the one thing that we did not account for was the
I'm kinda
enormous
shocked.
amount of vibration upstairs that in a regular house, I don't think it would be a problem.
Well,
But this thing has gone
The
through so
structure-
much neglect.
the structure is basically the same.
Right.
It's an older house.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I will take an older house over a new house any day.
I know.
The construction is so much better.
Well, you think about it, and that's what I was thinking as I was drilling through my floor, by the way, and I have, how much I don't want to compromise anything old in this house, and I'm drilling through my 100 and some year old floor, and I'm like, oh my God. But then I'm like, man, I'm drilling through a 100 and some year old floor.
Right.
Okay, I wouldn't
Going
be doing
into
this.
true 2x8s.
Right, I wouldn't have been doing this in
Yeah.
the trailer hood.
No.
So yeah,
No.
I just
Yeah,
did
laminate
not
to laminate, no.
account for that enormous amount of vibration that if you lean against it gives you a great back rub. But yeah, so but it's
I
okay.
just would not expect it to be that way.
Well, and again, once I put, it's not it's balanced on the floor that was there. But when the floor itself is moving and pounding
Right.
against the cross beams underneath or the
Yeah.
joists underneath,
It's adding to it. It's
now
actually
it's
amplifying
not
the vibration.
balanced. Right.
Right.
But when it's, I
And
know
that could
it's
loosen up your floor too. That minor vibration can loosen up your floor
that
because it's all nailed.
Yes, but it was already squeaking, and I
Sure.
just didn't do anything about it, and I should have. So,
But now you
and
did.
that was your floor can be loose without squeaking. This should have triggered my, oh my gosh, what am I thinking? I should screw this down. So
one of a
I did
bazillion
it.
things that needed to be done.
What?
It wouldn't be so hard on yourself.
There's nothing. There's nothing in that house that needs to be done. So anyway, how's the chicken coop? How's the chick? Just out of curiosity, how's the chicken coop looking?
Oh, it looks very nice.
Because that was one of the things we forgot.
Have we not talked about the
We
chandelier yet?
forgot to talk about the
We've been
chandelier with
busy.
Amy last
Amy
week. Yeah.
loves her chandelier.
Aw.
Yes. So, for those of you who don't know, Nancy made or repurposed
Mm-hmm.
a chandelier from her house for Amy's chicken coop, and it's painted several different colors. Nice job, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It looks awesome.
It's adorable.
And Amy took some lights
Uh-huh.
and strung them through the chandelier, and we have it hanging over in the play area.
Of the chicken coop.
Chicken coop. Which is actually, it was a perfect spot to put it. I was thinking somewhere else, so it was a little bit more visual. But it's a great place to put it because
Yeah.
that's the headbanger area.
Yeah.
Every time I walked through there, I went up smacking my head on one of the rafters. So
Right. Now
no,
you
it's
don't.
perfect.
Now you
It
gotta
looks-
walk around it.
It looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Good.
And the chickens
I'm glad.
sit there and look at it and go, "Brrr."
They don't know. They don't get it.
They do now. They don't care now.
They don't care.
No.
That's
They're kind
funny.
of one way. They just want food and water.
But yeah. Yeah, I spray painted it and put some flowers, and it's got beads and sparkles
Yep.
and all kinds
It's
of stuff
very
on
nice.
it. It's very bougie. Mm-hmm. So it's
Yeah,
a
I got a bunch of
fancy.
hoity-toity chickens now.
Yeah, it's a fancy chicken coop. They're all dressed in tuxes and prom dresses, or no prom dresses,
Well,
no tuxes.
You know, add to the success because they're pumping out eggs. So
Good. Well,
Yeah.
they like their environment. That's why.
right,
Yeah.
we're solid 10 a day.
Wow. You guys are some
Every now
protein
and then
eaters
we'll
right
be
about
up
now.
around 11 or 12. Yeah.
I gotta have
We'll
some
get
eggs. I
eggs.
haven't had an egg.
I was going to bring some for you today, and I completely forgot. In fact, there's truly a carton, Jesus, brain dead, sitting on the counter.
Aw.
Yeah.
So, did we talk about this before? I think we did. Maybe it was with Renee. But do you have to refrigerate the eggs?
No, and it was with Renee. When the chicken lays an egg, there's a coating
Right.
on that eggshell from the chicken.
Right.
And they will stay good at room temperature for months.
Right. Okay.
So what we do is we fill a carton. So
Yeah.
we're not quite filling a carton a day, but very close. Sometimes we do, but not always. And then they go in the fridge. What we don't do is wipe them off.
Right.
So you need to worry about chicken droppings because it's not uncommon to have chickens going to the bathroom on top of their eggs.
Of course.
I
do it all the time.
Well, I heard, but I never wanted to ask. But either we're very fortunate or the way I built the nesting boxes was the correct way because we don't have that problem.
Wow.
And we do have one chicken that goes up on top of the nesting boxes on the outside of the coop and lays eggs up there in any
that's
kind of
fun.
weather. So, whatever they got to be warm, not really. But even those aren't getting covered. So,
Interesting.
yeah, no, we're doing well. It's a routine now.
Yeah.
It's just kind of common.
Yeah.
They're really funny.
Are they?
I never ever
They have
thought about
personalities.
chickens as pets or entertainment or whatever. But yeah, they are. Amy goes in and they just go running to her because she pets them and stuff
yeah.
like that. I go in
She has
and
them all
they,
named, doesn't
they,
she?
like go into attack mode.
They don't like you.
No, they just kind of sit there and hover at the ground and their wings move a little bit. Like I don't know if it's a defensive thing or what, but
They're suspicious.
they don't bother me. They will eat birds off my boots.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah, my muck boots, they'll clean them up.
That's nice.
So, but no, I've heard horror stories about chickens, biting you and stuff like that, but never had a problem.
Aw.
So,
Does she have names for all of them?
no. One.
Just one? Gladys?
One she calls Big Red.
Big Red?
Yeah, and I think that was the fastest growing one. Well, Big Red.
I thought we were trying to name one of them, like Aretha or something.
Oh, yeah, for one of the black and white chickens.
Right.
I cannot think of the breed. But Big Red is our double layer. Well, we believe a double layer. She's the one on top of the nesting boxes.
Right.
On the outside of the coop, and there's always 2 eggs up there. Huh. I'll check the coop around 10:30, 11 o'clock and take 6 to 7 eggs out of there. There'll be 2 on top of the nesting boxes every day.
It's a present
And then
for you.
we check in the afternoon, and there's usually at least 3 more.
How many a day do they produce?
We're getting a solid 10.
No, just like one chicken per chicken.
I don't know. I know it can be a couple.
It can be. Okay,
Yeah,
so they produce multiple eggs.
right.
Isn't
We
that
got-
amazing?
I think so. The whole process is amazing. How does that even work?
Right. How does it even happen?
Yeah. We got 2
Weird.
soft-shelled eggs
Oh.
once,
Ooh.
and Amy was like, oh, boy, we got problems. So research started,
Right.
and it's talking about calcium deficiencies and, lack of airflow and all this stuff, and I got it tarped off, and I'm starting to get worried, and then I'm thinking, we've got 2 soft eggs. We don't need to do anything. Let's just keep
wait.
an eye on it.
Just wait.
Right.
Yeah.
If we get any more, we may
Don't
have a problem.
panic.
We haven't had any problems.
Yeah. Well,
So,
good.
It's all good.
Well, good. Well, speaking of food, I just want to say, too, that first of all, Dr. Paul McGraw is going to join us here in just a few minutes. He's actually running for the 43rd Assembly District here in our listening area for a state representative. However, that's not exactly what we're going to talk to him about.
Okay.
We're going to talk to him about several other things, including one of the very first question I'm going to ask him, just so you are prepared, is there is a difference, is there not, between health insurance and health care?
I would think.
And this discussion has gotten so convoluted about affordable health care and affordable health insurance. They are 2 very different things. And so we're going to talk with him a little bit about that, as well as just a few other things.
For a lot of people, neither one is affordable.
Well, yeah. Right. He also owns a place down in Darien called the Doctor's Office.
I've heard about that place.
It is an unbelievably wonderful place.
Yeah, I've
And we're
never
going to
been
talk
there.
about that. We're
Okay.
going to talk about that as well. And then for Just Stop, we will be talking, obviously, I know that this is completely unexpected and will blow people's minds, but we're going to talk about Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to use common sense when we're talking about it. And we will not be talking about it with any kind of blinders on or attitude or anything like that. This was a blatant blatant act that was committed by this woman who is they found out that she is in fact a paid protester,
A trained
protester.
Yeah,
And
they caught her up good.
Yes, and so we will be talking about how utterly irresponsible a mother of 3 was acting, and that came to a very tragic, horrific end for both her and her family, as well as the officer.
Oh, yeah.
And those surrounding him involved. So we will be talking about that at the end of the show. So just be prepared for that. But in the meantime, we were talking about food. Last week, there was an article. It's a tough day for McRib lovers. The iconic McDonald's sandwich is under fire because despite its name, the McRib reportedly contains, here's a shocker, no rib meat.
Whoever thought there was?
I don't know, but
it's
can I just say...
pressed pork to look like ribs.
Listen.
God, I knew that when I was a little kid.
The suit claim it's somebody is suing them. Class action lawsuit.
She probably spilled hot coffee on her lap once, too.
Yeah, it was hot barbecue sauce, probably. The alleged that its branding and pricing imply customers are buying premium pork rib sandwiches. Okay, you're not buying premium anything at McDonald's.
No.
Okay.
Except for maybe Grinch socks, but those are gone.
Loved Grinch. I have 3 pairs. The suit claims the McRib is made from restructured, quote unquote, pork using lower grade cuts of meat instead of actual rib meat. Can I just... Did you really think that you were buying, like, first of all, the shape alone?
You can
It's
tell
supposed
it's
to imitate actual ribs, yet
Right.
there's no bone.
Right.
So they're not ribs.
Yeah, you're not an awesome eater ripping through bone.
Giveaway.
Duh.
Obvious.
Yeah. One thing all these lawsuits have in common is no common sense. Just like the lady, and this goes back a long time, and people are probably sick of hearing about it, but she got a cup of coffee at McDonald's.
Yeah.
And spilled it on her lap and burned herself.
Right.
Who has gone out and bought a fresh hot cup of coffee and not got a hot cup of coffee?
I don't know.
You spill hot stuff on yourself, it's going to burn.
It doesn't really matter because they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If the coffee isn't hot enough, they get sued.
Right.
If the coffee is too hot, they get sued. Nobody wins.
No.
And nobody's going to win this.
And the shame on the judicial system for allowing this
I
stuff to
know.
go to trial.
I know.
Should throw it out.
The plaintiffs point to the USDA's National Daily Pork Report, arguing that rib meat is pricier than other pork cuts, and they claim McDonald's is taking advantage of this, quote, premium designation. People magazine reports the company vehemently denies the claims in the lawsuit, noting that the claims are inaccurate and distort the facts.
They've been doing it for almost 50 years.
The plaintiffs, however, argue they wouldn't have purchased the McRib or would have paid less for it if they knew that it didn't contain rib meat. I don't know how you think. You're at McDonald's. Dr. Paul McGraw joins us. We'll be right back after this.
Life Matters continues on Lake 96.1.
Welcome back to
here we
Life
go.
Matters. I know. Welcome back to Life Matters. Dr. Paul McGraw joins us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So we are happy to have you here again. We had you on the phone a couple times actually during COVID, and we talked a little bit about safety practices and things like that back then. But can you please tell people your background, your history, like what is it when you introduce yourself to people? What is it that you tell them that your history is, that your background, your expertise is? Just introduce yourself to the listeners.
Okay. I'm a veterinary epidemiologist with 35 years experience. So I practiced for Rock and Waller County for 15 years. And then I was with the state as a state veterinarian and assistant state veterinarian for 14 years.
Right.
The last 7 years, I've been the manager of the doctor's office.
Yes.
So this is medical now, people. And we have 5 independent clinics. We don't take insurance, cash, debit, or credit at the time of service. Over 30 providers and over 24,000 patient visits last year.
Wow. That's awesome. Can I just tell you, I was one of them. That's not protected by HIPAA if I say it.
That's true.
But yes, because it is very clear that our illustrious former leader, and his Affordable Care Act, which turns out to be not affordable at all, has created the need for something like that in every community. Like, we are so lucky to have the doctor's office. It's crazy. It's just crazy. You go down, you go in there. It's so nice. It's bustling with activity. People are happy. People who want to, they are truly there because they want to help you. They get the medical industry and the stress and the anxiety over being there because you're sick, or, you know, being there because you need some kind of service, or having to pay for it, not having insurance, things like that. One of the first things, and I said in the opening block that I wanted to ask you, can you help us make people understand the difference between healthcare and health insurance? Because people say we have to have the Affordable Care Act so people have access to health care. Everybody has access to health care. Am I wrong about this? Like, did something change where if you walk into a hospital emergency room and you need care, they are not allowed to treat you if you can't provide an insurance card? Or don't they have to treat you? Like, everybody has access to health care. And so, but there's a big difference between health care and health insurance. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, health care is really what you want to get. You want to get from the doctor's office. You want to come in and see a provider and get the care that you need. Health insurance was designed, if we go back a ways.
Yeah.
It didn't exist in the 1960s.
Right.
Everybody could afford health care on their own. Now what we've done is we've separated the provider from the payer. You've got a third-party pay. There's all kinds of examples when you do that. All that does is increase the cost.
Right.
So health insurance, while it was designed to be a benefit for employee competition, was one of the early ones.
Yes.
GM might have come up with insurance. Say, hey, we're going to pay for your health insurance, that you can use to pay for your health care. Yeah. But absolutely does nothing to help that relationship between the provider and the payer and the actual health care.
Absolutely. And it's this is the perfect example is when you go in and they say, we're going to give you 2 Tylenols, and it's $35 for 2 Tylenols on your bill, when you could have bought 100 bottles of Tylenol.
That's a lot of Tylenol.
That's a lot of Tylenol. Right. I mean, and so so all of the channels that you have to go through now to get the care has increased, when we could just actually get the care and just pay for it.
Yeah, I think nobody's looking now. I mean, how often are insurance companies writing these huge checks for double, triple billing from the healthcare provider? When you look back into it, I didn't have that done. That person wasn't there.
I have an example of this. When my grandson was born at a local hospital that was not Mercy, I was there. I watched this happen. She was getting ready to get her epidural. My daughter was. And we were leaving the room, and I leaned over to her and I held her hand. I was like, all right, we're going to be right outside the room. You got this, talking to her. She squeezed my hand real hard. I will never forget this, the way she said it, and I can't imitate it, but she went, Mom, and foot, out came Logan. Right there. No nurse in the room, no doctor in the room, no anesthesia. The anesthesiologist cart, the guy, I was like, oh my gosh, and like reached my hand over. A nurse came running into the room, and because Lisa's father-in-law was running out of the room right when this happened. And you know how Wile E. Coyote would get blown through a rock in his image? That was Walt. That was Lisa's father-in-law. He would have gotten through whatever barrier to get out of that room at that point. And anyway, and so but the anesthesiologist, he walked in, he goes, oh, you don't need me, and walked right back out. They charged her. It was on her bill for the anesthesiologist. And I was like, you need to call. I was like, they never touched you. You had that baby on you. So, yeah, they did actually take it off, which was shocking. But it was on her bill. That if she wouldn't have been paying attention, she would have paid that.
Right.
But all of these different processes now that we have to go through have added so much expense to medical care when you go to some place like the doctor's office, and the doctor's office isn't unique. There are other ones out there but just not in every single community like they should be, like we are lucky enough to have here in Walworth County. But what kind of people, what are people saying right now about their health care and the affordability and health insurance and the affordability? What are you hearing in that industry?
Well, it's not sustainable.
No.
Okay, so one thing Obamacare did was took away those high deductible plans that a young person that's reasonably healthy maybe could go out and shop for. You just want a catastrophic insurance. If you do get cancer or you break an arm or you need surgery,
right.
They've eliminated that. So there's no longer affordable plans out there that people can shop for.
Right.
They required anyone with 50 employees or more to provide insurance, and then they just continue to raise the rates, and people are held captive. So what's happening in the industry is we are getting employers to start to look at options. Okay, so they can self-insure. They can set a cap at like $25,000 or $50,000 for reinsurance, and then they can pay all the claims up to that level. Now, that's where the places like the doctor's office, and there are other ones, there are direct primary care doctors out there. Doctors are leaving the system to go back to taking care of patients.
Good.
But we can refer you to get an MRI done for $400.
Right.
That same MRI might cost $6,000 or $8,000 at one of the local hospitals. We can get a hip replaced for a cash surgery center in Wauwatosa for $19,000.
Wow.
That can be $90,000 to $120,000 in the system. So when we can collaborate with companies, the companies will pay that whole claim, because at the end of the year, they're going to save potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. That
if they're self-insured, they then can keep to help prevent those 10 and 15 and 20% increases that the industry is seeing in insurance costs. Because frankly, right now, we've just got the insurance companies. Certain companies have doctors, clinics, hospitals, insurance, and the pharmacies.
Right.
Well, they're negotiating with themselves to raise the rates for everything. And when you've got the government coming in paying a third-party pay, nobody cares.
Right. They're cashing the checks.
Yep.
They're cashing the checks. And it's incredible. Like I said, how do you get, when you look at your bill, seriously, there's a Tylenol on there. And, I said $35. It's not. But like $10 a pill. How do we get there?
Well, again, it's a blank check.
Right.
So pharmacy, there's, I was at a meeting at least 5 years ago where they said the middleman, these pharmacy benefits managers, take $250 billion a year out of the system. Now, that's a fair amount of money toward lobbying. So it's legalized racketeering. They can bill the insurance company. If you have a fully insured plan, they can bill the insurance company any amount they want for that medicine, and they don't have to share that data with the employer.
Wow. And then the employer gets the rate increase.
And the consumer doesn't care because they're not paying much.
Right.
Well, the consumer cares when
they're paying more.
Right, when you see that all of this is raising your rate. The only people that are getting rich right now are the insurance companies. I guess that's not true because
the healthcare system.
The healthcare system is getting away with this my husband was just exasperated one day, and he generally is pretty passive, and he had a conversation with a guy that's one of his customers. He sells construction equipment. He had a conversation with this guy. He owns this huge farm, and he bought I can't remember what he bought, post hole digger or something from him. Fencing, that's what it was. It was a postal digger. And so he's having this conversation. Ty delivered it to him on his farm, and he's having this conversation with him about the farm. And the guy started talking to him that his wife was sick, and that this new medicine that she needed under the insurance company was something like $1,600 a month or whatever. If you paid cash, it was $400 a month.
God.
And if you get a GoodRx car, maybe it comes down to $40 a month. There's that variability in there.
Yeah.
And
so how do they now? So here's the thing. I will say this. My dad retired from Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical company. When he retired, he was in charge of quality control for all injectable medications that Lilly produced. My dad invented 2 machines that they use to this day to process some medications. Forms of the machines are not exactly the same because, this was back in the 60s. So, And, one of the things he always said was the only thing that you have to remember is for a period of time, the first dose costs millions and millions of dollars of R&D. Mm-hmm. But once you get that first dose paid for, yes, the ingredients of any medication is really not expensive, and the process for making these medications is not expensive. Now, remember, he knew what he was talking about.
Right.
He made the stuff. So, but you have to remember that the first one is the one that costs, and so you have to get that paid for, and that's before a pharmaceutical company makes any money. Now, they get them paid for, and they get them paid for quick. He wasn't defending. He's just saying you can't roll out a new medicine, at $4 a shot, because you'll have to sell it for the rest of your life to make up the R&D, the research and development and all of that. However, how do you get from $1,600 to $400 because you're paying cash? People don't get that that there is a big difference between the care, which would be the $400 medicine, and the insurance,
$1,600,
which is the $1,600 medicine. Yep. That's where the problem lies. Nobody gets it.
Well, that's one of the problems.
Well, true.
You've separated the payer from the provider in the most cases.
Exactly.
People are going to pay a nominal fee of that $1,600, and so they're not going to complain. The other thing that we're not even addressing is why are we on all these medications?
Well,
okay, so we've got Big Pharma that's funding all of the research, and they come out and they're in camp with the Pediatric Association and the Heart Association, and everybody's got to be on a pill every day because that's an annuity. Okay, they know if they've got you taking a pill every day, they've got money.
Right.
A vaccine that makes the recommended dose, one of those vaccines is $9 billion a year.
Right.
Once it's a recommended vaccine from CDC. So do we care about, does it actually work? Does it do anything? Do we have trials to show that it's effective? Or is it $9 billion a year? I
read just the other day that kids are up to, it's 90 recommended vaccines for kids now.
I've heard for sure 70, but 90 is probably
That'll
right
kill
now.
your immune system.
Yep.
I mean, and then they say autism isn't caused by vaccines, but yet it was 1 in 32 in 1980 something, and now it's 1 in 10,000 because
you flipped around. It was 1 in
10,000, right? Now it's 1 in 32 kids, and you wonder, you're putting this stuff in kids, and let's not even go down the COVID vaccine route because we don't have that much time on the show. But I'm here to tell you that my mother-in-law was perfectly healthy, and now she has major heart problems. And they ramped up on those COVID shots and those boosters, and they were, we were like, we will not go anywhere near that. I'm sorry. And we didn't. And she now has major heart problems. And I know everybody's thinking what I'm saying in our family, which is, wow, that really had a huge effect on her. And I just, I don't understand how you get to a point in your life where you just depend on what everybody else says and what everybody else is gaslighting you about, and you stop taking responsibility for your own health. You stop taking responsibility for the financial part of your health, your own health care. Like, you have to be able to stand up and advocate for yourself. You have to stand up and say, I'm not going to give my kids 90 shots before they're whatever years old.
Think about it. Just think back in your own history. When I was a kid, which is 50 years ago, nobody knew what autism was.
Right, and I do.
So as
100%,
the immunizations increased and the medicines increased, the problems increased.
I think, though, that
kind of common sense.
But we also got better at diagnosing some of that stuff.
Well,
so it's a combination.
Well, no doubt, yes.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things. There's food additives. There's
Absolutely.
different toxins we're exposed to. There could be a lot of things. The fact is they've never looked at it.
Right.
And they have, CDC just recently admitted, no, we never actually looked whether vaccines had any impact on autism, even
Right.
though they've told us that forever, no, it's not there.
That they
it's not
don't.
an issue.
Exactly.
And so all I ask is simply, you should ask your pediatrician, I want to see the double-blind studies, which is the gold standard
Mm-hmm.
for safety and efficacy, showing that these vaccines work.
Right.
Problem is they don't exist.
Right. They don't exist. And so just as much as somebody wants to argue you can't say it does, you also can't argue that it doesn't because you don't know.
Right.
But common sense, right? Common sense does not prevail anymore. Common sense tells me that I shouldn't be paying $2,000 a month for an insurance policy with a $10,000 deductible. Mm-hmm. Right? I shouldn't be paying that much for
Nobody
health
should.
insurance. Nobody should.
I don't know how you can.
But we've gotten in this vicious circle. We've gotten in this vicious circle of now they're charging and they're charging too much and the health insurance is too expensive because on the other side of that coin, besides the health insurance companies making a boatload of money, they also are having to pay out higher because the hospitals are charging, the healthcare industry is charging more. I mean, it's that vicious circle, right? And the person that can't maintain their own, issues in this are the sick clients, right? That maybe can't work or whatever, and they're like horrible victims of this vicious, nasty circle. But again, you go back to places like the doctor's office where it's down to earth, it's common sense, there's no frills. It's just, oh yeah, this is what you need. This is where we'll send you. This is what, and they'll tell you how much it is. That's the other thing. You guys and the people that you work with, you're upfront about the cost. Like you just said, I can send you for a $400 MRI.
Yeah.
And you know exactly how much it costs. People aren't looking. They've just gotten, and it's exhausting. Don't you think they're exhausted from just all of it?
Right. People just want to get the care and get better.
Yeah.
And that's not the plan. And then once you get into the system, well, okay, so you need to get a little bump removed from your cheek. It looks like something dermatology. Well, we'll get you into a specialist. It'll take about 6 weeks, and then that's another $1,500 or $3,000, and then I think that should be removed, and we should biopsy it and see what it is. But I have to send you to a surgeon to do that.
Right.
You can do all that at the doctor's office, and we can send it out, and it's $400, and it's done that day. And yet the other way, you're looking at 3 months and probably $10,000 or $15,000 for the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. But we've separated people from those decisions with our third-party pay, and this isn't the only example. We did the same thing with college tuition and government school loans.
Right.
I paid $1,000. I know I'm old, but I paid $1,000 a year at UW River Falls in 1981. It's $9,440 for the same tuition today. That's 3.7 times the rate of inflation.
Right.
So anytime we separate, the big one is we've separated people from paying their taxes.
Right.
Payroll tax deduction. If everybody had to write a check out like small businesses do to the government every 2 weeks, instead of saying, oh, here's my take home, and better yet, the government's going to give me a check in April.
Right. Well, and this has all made it so that we have so little say other than at the voting booth on what goes on. They've made it so you cannot stand up for yourself. You cannot look and say, like, there are so many things. $9 billion worth of child care fraud.
Yeah, in one state.
In one state. And people say, oh, there's really not that much fraud going on.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't know in Wisconsin because Governor Evers won't open the books.
Right. Well, all that says is that we do know that there's fraud going on.
Well, he's tight with walls, so we know there's a problem there.
Right. I mean, well, first of all, you're right. Absolutely any of these guys at Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro, he's the same thing. Oh, he's a good friend of mine. Oh, he's a stand-up guy. Oh, he's this, he's that. No, he's not. He is absolutely not. And he just, again, we laid in bed and we smelled Minneapolis burning and we knew that it was the smell of change. That's what he said all those years ago as governor when they were burning the police precincts down. Yep. Right? So it's just, no, you're not a good person. Thank God. I mean, for a number of other reasons, but thank God that he didn't get elected as vice president. Holy cow. Holy cow. So, but again, all of this stuff gets brewing, and all of this stuff gets into this vicious circle, like I said, and the victim is the people that can't get out of it. Like, you have no choices. Your choices are gone, right?
Absolutely. And the answer is to get back to giving options to patients, giving options to the individual, self-responsibility, take control of your own health care. We need to, I would ask you a question. Can you name one problem that the government was really good at solving?
No.
And I think that we continue to think the government's going to develop this plan and this plan and this plan. What about trying to get the government out of the way, let the private sector take care of it? We have options. There's cash options. Frankly, between our system where we take care of the primary care and refer you to these other options, we can take care of everything except maybe, obviously a car accident where you need the ER, a heart attack, cancer, So we still need to have a solution for some of those major things, but that should be a high deductible, catastrophic type plan. The rest of it, get back to people taking care of their own health care.
We're talking with Dr. Paul McGraw. He owns the doctor's office as well.
General manager
of the doctor's office. Sorry.
He's pretty important over there.
But who does own this place?
Bob Fetting.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
This was Bob's idea that his wife's a nurse and his father-in-law was a doctor, and over the last decades just frustrated with health care. And why can't, it's not a new model. This is the model I grew up in.
Right.
Where you go into the doctor's office, you pay him, you walk out the door.
Right.
So that was the idea that at the doctor's office, we kind of take care of the business headache.
Right.
And all of our providers are independent contractors, and it's their job to just take care of patients.
We love Bob.
And do your doctors talk to people like they're people, or are they on a time clock?
They set their own.
That.
They start at half-hour appointments, and they often run long if somebody's got something complicated going on. But the doctors, and PAs and NPs and physical therapists and chiropractors, they all dictate. It's their business. They set their own time clock. So I'm not sitting there telling them, hey, let's go. It's up to them to take care of the people.
So they have time to talk to people.
Absolutely.
I am so tired of a doctor giving me their backside when I have questions.
Or
they're typing into the computer, right?
Never looking
we've got to
at
get
you.
all the ICD
Right.
codes into Epic so we can get paid appropriately. That's a main concern. Our guys aren't doing that.
Yeah, it's like they're offended that you're talking to them.
Yeah.
You know what else? At the doctor's office, they talk to each other.
Crazy.
See, that's the other thing is you run into that. Well, I'm going to prescribe this, and then you go to this other doctor, and he's going to prescribe that, and that people don't talk to each other. My mom ran into that so many times. My mom was never healthier than when we said, why are you taking this? Stop taking all these things. And she stopped. Well, what happened was she got sick, and like with the flu or whatever, and she didn't want to take any of her medicine. And when she got finished taking it, so we made her take just the ones we knew like she had to have. Okay, fine. You don't want to take your cholesterol medicine, whatever. And so when she was done with the flu and she felt so much better, she just never went back to taking the stuff. And until she actually had a heart attack and passed away, she was fine. But
you hear about this more and more.
Or better, I shouldn't say fine.
Okay, let's get you off all the medication.
And then go from
see
there.
what your body's actually doing.
Right. Because how do you know?
But see, you're not allowed to do that in the system.
No,
they
because
have
then you might get
protocols.
well.
Your blood work says this, you need to be on this pill.
Right.
It's not talking about, well, what's the cause of that change in the blood work? Maybe we could talk about diet. Maybe we could talk about exercise. Maybe there's take some of the toxic foods out of your system that we keep putting into ourselves, And, like it or not, make America healthy again.
We should all like it.
Kennedy's
Right.
doing some really good stuff there. This food pyramid that they just flipped over, why do you think we have so many obese children since 1980?
Right.
Because they had them eating all the carbohydrates. That's wrong. They've known it's wrong, but it's been the money
they sit on a
lobbying.
computer all day.
I'm friends with a gal that is, she is a huge proponent for 100%, basically a meat protein diet, and that's it. Like everything else is sugar, and you shouldn't be eating it. And I think about her a lot when I'm shopping or whatever. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe is that the answer? Is that the answer? Again, grains turn into sugar, things like that. So, I read what she posts, and I am mindful because of some of the things that she shared or whatever. But you don't. we're not teaching it in schools. We're not giving that information to patients on a regular basis or on any basis, probably, because you're right. They're not in the business of making people better. That is a failed business
plan for them. You don't want healthy people. You don't make money that way.
Right.
It's sick care. It's not health care.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Congress is trying to pass a temporary continuation of the subsidies for the Unaffordable Care Act, and as we speak, and so it's only temporary. What do you think is going to happen with this health insurance system? Because it's my opinion, it's got to come crashing down at some point and start over.
Well, the big problem that we face is that nobody gets reelected by saying, I'm going to take something away from you.
True.
And so we always are battling that at Congress. The right answer is you've got leverage right now because rates are going up for a whole bunch of Americans, but it's still less than 6% that we're talking about that these subsidies are going to. So, I think the answer is we need change for everybody in America.
Right.
Medicare is not sustainable the way it's going.
Nope.
We're bankrupting our country. So we need to come up with methods, again, get back to self-responsibility. There's options out here. Let's give the marketplace a chance to have competition again. And we just need to do some of these things that get the government out of the way and let the market fix it.
I love that you say that, because that's the thing is the government is not here to take care of you.
No.
The government is here to get out of the way and keep things out of the way so that you can take care of yourself.
In our 250-year anniversary, wouldn't it be great if we got back to our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution and what our founding fathers wanted, which is small government, let the people, let the economy take care of themselves, get government out of the way. And you will see explosion in the economy. You will see everything become more affordable, and people will do well.
Yeah, it's just get back to the basics. Same thing could be said about schools. I mean, as you're running for the position that you're running for in the 43rd Assembly, or the 43rd, right?
43rd Assembly District, yes.
That's another thing that's going to come in front of you is education and schools and funding, and it's the same thing there. We have to get back to where we need to be, the basics. The kids have to be able to read and write and do some pretty simple mathematical equations in order to function in life. All of these other things that we have put in these schools that we don't. First of all, the schools shouldn't even be touching. Okay, the schools, the schools shouldn't be doing things that parents are supposed to be teaching. Okay, let's just start there. But if we don't get back to the basics and get our test scores up for these kids, now Walworth County seems to be Walworth County seems to do very well in that respect. But you've got you go to the state and you're fighting for everybody, and we have got to get these kids better prepared for life. This is part of the problem is that they have expectations that are unrealistic because the parents or the school system, they're not telling them this is how life actually is.
Right.
Milwaukee School District spends tens of thousands of dollars per student, and they can read and do math at grade level 5%.
Right.
So I mean that's not a funding issue. And we continue,
No, it's not.
Continue to give more and more money without any standards on the other end.
And when I say funding issue, I don't mean give them more.
Right. No,
I mean monitor what the heck is going on there.
Funding just increases the spending and the costs.
Yep. And it increases it at the top. Yeah. Right? The
administration.
The administrative side of education is way too high. And we need to be giving the money to teachers, better teachers, rewarding them when they, when they're increasing the score. I mean, there's I want to say it was Louisiana that went from something like 48th to 4th? Mississippi. Yeah, it went from 48th to 4th, and that's because they dialed it down.
Well, they mandated phonics.
Yeah.
Imagine.
What? Fun with phonics. I remember that. Mm-hmm. Look at that. I can read and write. I heard also, Paul, tell me, what do you think about this? Somebody told me the other day that one of the other reasons why they're not teaching kids cursive anymore is because AI can't read cursive.
I don't know that, but I mean, I haven't heard that reason, but it is crazy if that's a reason. You know,
I don't think that's realistic because they quit teaching cursive years ago.
That's what I said, but I don't know.
I think they quit teaching cursive because they didn't want to teach it.
I think they quit teaching cursive because they didn't want them to read the Declaration of Independence because they can't read it if they can't read cursive.
Right. That's interesting.
And you have to be able. You have to be able to read cursive. You have to be able to write cursive. Yeah. For instance, how do you write a signature now? You just print it.
X.
That's what we're teaching them. X. Anyway,
I don't know.
Are you looking forward to this campaign? So tell me, why did you jump into the political race now?
Well, it's not because I don't have enough to do.
I was going to say, you're kind of busy.
I really enjoy what's going on with the doctor's office, and I'm not giving that up. We're going to keep growing, and we're going to keep doing a good job there. But I look at Wisconsin, and I think we're at a crossroads. I think Wisconsin can decide to be a little more like Texas and Florida, or we can turn into Illinois and Minnesota.
No.
And I've got 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, and I'm looking at let's see if we can't change Wisconsin to make it a better place for the future. And I think talk all the time about identifying problems. You do a great job of identifying problems, and then we all sit there, well, what can we do about it? What can we do about it? So I decided, a few months ago that, I'm going to put my name in, and I'm going to run for the 43rd Assembly District to bring a voice of reason to that capital and hopefully be somebody that we can help make change to Wisconsin for everybody.
Right.
For the better.
Right. And I think that it's interesting because I have said, and we have actually agreed, Tom and I, for years on this, that when you have somebody who is in a political office, they should have some business experience, run a business, understand a profit and loss sheet, understand at the very least, if you haven't run or managed a business, that you should at very least have some business type education, just the basics, because running the state is running a business. You cannot finish in the red. You need to finish in the black. And there are wise decisions and there are unwise decisions. I'm going to lean on the side of a 400-year tax increase is not a wise decision to have made on behalf of the citizens of Wisconsin. But a lot of things are, Act 10, wise decision made on. So there are reasons why people in business, though, make the decisions that they do, and how they get to those decisions, and so with your education, you've already been in government when you were, because that was under Scott Walker, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then again, being the general manager, being in that being in the medical field, all of those things make you really a true candidate to be reckoned with, I think.
Well, and let's just look at the last 6 years under Governor Evers. We've gone from an $80 billion state budget to a $113 billion state budget. So when you break that down, that comes down to as much as $500 per month per taxpayer in the state of Wisconsin. And what are you getting for that extra?
Good question.
$33 billion that's being used in the biennial budget. So,
and what are we getting? Do you know? No, you don't know either.
We know that there's likely fraud and waste going on in Wisconsin too, but it continues to grow the bureaucracy, and I think it's time that we start looking at that, take a hard look at everything, where all the money's going. Let's start with looking at the budget. What do they write, a 10,000-page budget? Well, who can read it?
Mm-hmm. Nobody. They do that on purpose.
Why don't we write a 10-page budget?
Right.
And actually, where the money's going, give it to the agency in a block, and trust that the leaders of each agency are going to do the right thing with it.
And that's so much easier to monitor. See, that's what people don't understand. The fewer pages it is, the less fraud and the easier it is for Overwatch. Mm-hmm. Period. You have a 10,000 page. Nobody knows what the heck you're talking about.
Well, by the time you get to page 15, you don't remember page 1.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi's famous words: "We have to pass Obamacare so we can find out what's in it."
I knew you were going to say that, because if you didn't, I was going to. Also, parking structure in Lake Geneva. Just so you know,
that'll never
just
die.
A few of the.
What are you going to talk about when we get one?
I don't know. I'm the one at the meetings, at the Highway 50 meetings, that always brings up, if we had a parking structure, And they always they're like, Nancy, you're going to get kicked off this committee. And they would never do that. But somebody else brought up the parking structure the other day, and 2 or 3 people looked at me like, you're going to let him talk like that? Like, talking about your parking structure? But anyway, so can we? I know. Do you want to touch real quick on the other business that you own and tell us what's going on over there?
My wife and I are part owners of Geneva Tap House.
Yes.
And actually have Kenosha Tap House too, but Geneva Tap House, we've got 50 self-pour taps down here. Beer, wine, seltzers, ciders. Great venue. There's opportunity there to lease space also for parties. And it's a really neat environment if you haven't been there.
That's cool. Yeah, I've been there. It is a very interesting concept. You guys were the first ones to do that mass pour concept thing. What is that called even?
Well, it's a self-pour.
Self-pour,
I pour, it's a company. But yeah, it's unique that you can go up and pour 2 ounces yourself.
Right.
You know, there's lots of places that have a lot of taps, but you're sitting back here and you're looking at them and you might get a taster, but it's hard to know what's really there. You can pour an ounce, 2 ounces, taste it, see if you like it.
That's
and
cool.
then if you find one you like, you can pour a pint.
That's awesome.
Or 2.
Or 2. Or 10.
Or 3.
Or 3.
Have fun
Safe
with
ride.
it.
Yeah. No, it's
Stay hydrated.
No, it's a really cool place, and it's a very cool atmosphere in there too, and definitely something worth looking into if you do want to rent a space. So, see, this is what I'm saying is that when you have a well-rounded person, somebody who's been involved in the community, you have expertise in business, you have expertise in the medical field, you have expertise with regard to insurance, you have expertise with regard to working in the government before because you already did that. At some point in time, when you talk about a well-rounded candidate that has a very worldly view of that can bring that view and that experience down to your local advantage, this is what you want in a candidate. And so good luck to you with running there. Yeah.
And thanks for coming
And
on.
we'll talk more closer to the election because what happens first? Is there a primary in April or no?
Well, no, this my primary would be in August.
Okay.
Currently, there's nobody else on the Republican ticket.
Oh, perfect. Okay. All right. And because they can't, is it too late now?
No. For the fall election, the papers aren't due till June 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all
there's
right.
time.
So that
yet.
was April that I'm thinking of.
the
that
April
was
election,
just
the spring
due.
elections. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect. So you've got some time. So we'll be
Sure.
talking with you closer to the time anyway. And then definitely I would like to check back in if you don't mind as the again, as the current administration tries to deal with the healthcare / health insurance industry and dealing with making this all affordable for everyone, I do think we will see some changes in the next 3 years. I really do. I think that, again, the president looks at it with a business eye and sees that it's not sustainable. You can't continue to throw good money after bad, which is exactly what we're doing, and because it's not benefiting anybody. And when we get down to the brass tacks and we start looking at exactly how this happened and why it exploded the way it did, I have a feeling it's going to be painful temporarily, like a lot of things. Tariffs are painful temporarily, but end up being beneficial. This might be the same thing, but it couldn't be as painful as enduring what we have endured with our healthcare system and trying to pay for it for the last however many years since the unaffordable. And yes, it is unaffordable. The Unaffordable Care Act was put into existence. It's just ridiculous. And so I think I would like to check back in with you as
Absolutely.
our Congress and the administration try to solve this problem. I would definitely like to have you back to talk about that too.
Thank you very much. I
No
appreciate
problem.
you having me on.
Oh, yes. No, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Paul McGraw, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Paul McGraw. He is the general manager at the doctor's office as well as now a political candidate. Oh, boy. Well, that's okay. We still like you. No, I'm just kidding.
Even more now.
Geneva Tap House. Also, go visit it. Downtown Lake Geneva, right by the theater. And it's a fun place to be as well. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with Just Stop. I think you know what we're going to talk about.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I know you know what we're going to talk about, but I think everybody.
They know?
Everybody. I think they know. Do you think they
saw
know?
it on the news.
I think they know. We'll be right back with more right after this on Lake 96.1. Did you miss part of the show? You can find Life Matters with Tom and Nancy in its entirety. Just search Life Matters on Spotify, YouTube, or go to lake961.com.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Stop it.
Whoa. Stop right there.
Stop! Stop it!
Just stop talking.
Okay, we are operating on a limited amount of time.
I know.
Here's the thing.
Not good with that.
With somebody like Dr. McGraw, you get into this conversation and you don't want to stop the conversation.
No, because there's so much information there.
Right. And when you get to talk to someone that operates with such common sense and efficiency, you really want more. You really want, like, what are your solutions? Fix this. You can fix it. We know you can. And so it's very hard to stop talking
Yes.
with somebody like that. And and so that's what we did. So we are in a limited amount of time to talk about our Just Stop subject for today, which nobody is surprised to know that it is about the constant chaos at this point in Minneapolis. I know that nobody is going to be surprised also that our historically back the blue take on this is that unfortunately that officer now has to live with the fact that he had to do something that no officer ever wants to do.
Correct.
And the family of this woman that made the choices that she made, she has 3 children now that are going to be without a mom. And that is 100% due to the choices that she made, and not just that day.
No.
She was a trained
Protester.
agitator.
Yeah, that's what she was doing. She was out there creating problems.
Yes, and more than one person has come forward who had nothing to do with this incident and said she was the lead, like she was using her vehicle to block. Even her own, quote, wife said at one point during, when in the chaos that ensued in the moments after, she was crying and saying, "This is all my fault. This is all my fault." Like, she helped her do this. She encouraged her to do this. And, the thing is that at the time that all of this happened, by the way, if we could go back just for, 5 minutes before all this happened, all those guys were trying to do, one of their cars got stuck in the snow and they were just trying to push a car out. They weren't even doing anything. They were just trying to get their car out of the way. And she interfered with that. She was yelling at him. She was clearly told to stop. She was clearly told to get out of the car. And then nobody, though, and you can attest to this, nobody except the officer that fired the shots saw her face in that moment and saw her eyes in that moment. Only he can understand the decision that he made based on what he saw, whether it was, we don't know if she didn't look right at him like, "I'm gunning this car," and boom. We don't know if she looked away, and we don't know. My gut instinct is that he looked her dead in the eye, and she had every intention of slamming on the gas and hitting him. She in fact did hit him. That's my gut instinct, is that it was very clear to him that she was had lost it at this point and was going to hurt him or kill him. And
we don't know what his perception of her actions were, and that's what it comes down to. Everybody has a right to defend himself, and he was in a defense position for whatever elements he perceived or were actually there. I shouldn't say it like that. Whatever his perception of her level of threat was, he reacted to it.
Right.
What we need to remember, first of all, law enforcement is covered under privilege. In Wisconsin, it's 939.45, if I remember correctly, which gives law enforcement acting in an official capacity the right to basically create or commit crimes. Because physically assaulting somebody or, using tactics where you're fighting with somebody, it's illegal to do that.
Right.
Shooting somebody, it's illegal to shoot somebody. But under privilege, in that official capacity, you're covered. Basically, you're allowed to do that.
Because you're allowed to stay alive.
Right. You're allowed to defend yourself or others.
Right.
And sometimes we forget that. This isn't all necessarily about him protecting himself, which I believe was the case. I believe that's what was going through his head. But what about everybody else there?
Well,
if she's driving recklessly and she has been a problem already, what is his perception of the threat to everybody else around there?
Here's the thing, too. Go ahead.
ICE has been under attack.
Right.
These aren't peaceful protesters saying, oh, please don't do that. These guys are hostile. They've been throwing bricks at them. They've been attacking them. They're on edge.
This wasn't the first time that same guy had been hit by a vehicle.
No. Yeah, you could talk to pretty much anybody in law enforcement, and they have been hit by vehicles. I've been hit by vehicles. It's not common, but it's very unfortunate, and it does happen. People don't care.
Here's the thing.
They don't.
No, they don't care.
They don't think we matter.
Because you get to a point of no return, and that's where she was.
Exactly.
And she had lost it, and there was not going to be anything to do. And in her mind, she was justified. However, I just want. There's two things I want to bring up here. They're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. So they might as well do.
You're talking about law enforcement.
Yes. Because here's the thing. Had he successfully jumped out of the way and she continued to drive recklessly and hit a civilian, they would have been under fire for not stopping her.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't really matter. They're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Second of all, you can protest all day long that they were not doing something they were, or that they were supposed to be doing, or vice versa, or whatever. In the days prior to this incident, they had arrested nearly 120 rapists, child molesters, repeat drunk drivers. Mm-hmm. That's what they were there to do, was to remove those people, remove the scourge criminals.
The illegal
immigrant criminal, rapist, molesters, drunk drivers, killers, drug dealers.
That shouldn't be here anyways.
They are getting rid of those people out of your neighborhood. So, again, this woman also had a couple of teenage kids. Would she have been sitting there doing the same thing or saying the same things that she was saying if one of those people had molested one of her children?
I think so.
Or a drunk driver had hit one of her cars, or a car that one of her kids was in, and hurt or killed one of her kids. So you got to get away from the actual protesting the people. If you don't like the actions that are that are happening in your neighborhood, you have to go and talk to your lawmakers. Okay, you have to go and find out why that action is needed in your neighborhood. Why were those people allowed to be in your neighborhood in the first place? Mm-hmm. Because if those people weren't allowed in your neighborhood, ICE wouldn't be there to remove them from your neighborhood for your own protection as well as those of your neighbors. Okay, the people that are there doing their job are not the problem.
No. They're doing their job.
They're doing their job. And you would be even more upset if they weren't doing their job and your mom, sister, brother, daughter, son was killed, molested, raped, whatever. You'd be even more upset. Now you'd be standing around saying, where are you? Why aren't you solving these problems?
Right. You should be more upset about your politicians not doing their job.
Exactly.
Than ICE, they're doing their job. Because ICE isn't everywhere.
Exactly.
They're going to the problem areas. And this just reinforces my statement of liberalism is a mental disorder. How in your right mind can you be mad at people that are doing their job, trying to protect you from an illegal scourge? And no, not everybody that came here is a criminal, but everybody that came here illegally came here illegally. That's a criminal act.
But here we go back to... there are people here illegally that are trying to get legal, that are trying to be here legally that
Right.
deserve to be here, that we want them to be here, and we need them to go through the process. But during the process, we also need to protect them. These are the people that they're running from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have women and children and families here, grandmas and grandpas, and, we're trying to protect them. These are the people that they're running from their countries.
Right. It's a vicious cycle.
Right. So the legal immigrants, that's great. We want you here. We want you to stay. Yes, this nation thrives upon everybody working together. But the people that ICE are trying to remove, and these stories about, they're removing legal citizens and putting them in jail. No, they are not. Give me one name.
Right.
One
Nobody
name.
can.
And you'll never come up with a name. So we are trying to also protect the legal immigrants from the people that they're afraid of, that they're coming here for refuge from. And so just stop attacking the folks that are arresting the scourge of the earth people that were allowed to cross our borders illegally and commit crimes here in the country. And start asking yourself, why am I not spending this energy on protecting my neighborhood and my kids' school and my workplace from the people that are causing the problem in the first place, which is the illegal criminal immigrants. Period. End of story. That is the story. That's it. Why are you spending time trying to prevent these criminals from being removed from your neighborhood? Why? What is wrong with you?
Back to the mental disorder.
Exactly. So anyway, that's about it. That's all. I just don't understand it. I just.
We could go on forever.
Right.
But we don't
And
have
now,
the time
are
to.
they going to burn the city down
Probably.
because of this again? I mean, are they going to?
We're mad, so we're going to go wreck
Right.
these hardworking people's businesses and threaten them, and just like they did before.
Right. Right. It's just, I don't know. I'm, and this doesn't even. This is just a very brief follow-up. One of the things that Tim Walz said, the governor, that's about to get completely ousted anyway because he's
He's got problems.
The likelihood of being actually involved in this fraud is pretty high. Anyway, he said, I implore the federal agents to work with the local police in order to regain trust and credibility. But the problem with that is that you ordered the police not to work with them.
Correct.
And so there's my first question is that, how do you expect that to work when you have sent a very clear message that you don't want to work with the federal law enforcement officers? And second of all, I want to know what the reaction would have been so everybody's like, you need to work with our police department. Our police department's fine. Our police department isn't going to work with ICE. Okay, well, what if this would have been one of your police officers and not ICE that she did this to? Would you feel differently, or are now you going to turn on your own police department as well?
Well, yeah, they already proved they will do that.
Oh, yeah, because they burnt their down.
They will turn on anybody who is opposite of what they believe is right.
So I don't know.
Tim Walz is a master of don't believe what you see, believe what I tell you.
Yeah, I think we go back to this. The whole entire show has been really talking about common sense, and if you see it, you can believe it. But if you don't see it and somebody else is telling it to you, perhaps you're being what we call gaslighted. And what that means is that somebody is trying to tell you something over and over again in a manner that makes you override and second guess what you either know to be true or what your instinct is. And I'm just here to tell you, trust your gut. Okay? Stop believing all of this crap. And anybody that is telling you that there is not widespread rampant fraud in our Medicaid system, in our healthcare system, in our child care system, in our government programs, you have got to stop and take a look at some of the things that are going on. It is fraudulent.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And if we can get a handle on that, you might see a big difference. You would be surprised at how getting a handle on these things trickles down right into your own household.
Yeah.
to the benefit
Right.
of you, for your benefit.
You may not be losing so much of your take-home pay.
Right.
Look at your pay stub. Where's all that money going?
Right. Ask where that's going. Where
Think
is
about
that
how
going?
many people are in this country?
Right.
And we're all paying, not the same, but like half of our check is going to
Listen.
programs and taxes. And
I'm here to tell you that that's what Minnesota is pissed off about right about now. Because they're looking at their checks and they're like,
they should be.
what am I paying for?
Yeah.
Right.
Why am I struggling to working my butt off, and these people are getting billions of
Right.
dollars doing nothing?
Right.
They don't even have to unlock
They weren't even
the doors
born
at
here.
their daycare.
That's right. So there's two reasons why those people up there are pretty ticked off. And
You should be mad.
yeah.
You shouldn't be
Should
mad
absolutely
because
be mad.
ICE is doing their job.
Right.
You should be mad because of all the fraud that's going on
Exactly.
and all these paid, trained protesters.
Yeah.
This isn't, Jim and Sally down the street.
No.
These guys are bussed in, trained
Yeah.
up.
They don't belong there.
No.
Right. Anyway. Main Street Messages is back.
Yes.
Alex is here. That's coming up next right here
I'm
on
going
Live.
hunting.
Okay, you go. Oh, that's right. Happy pheasant hunting. Goodbye.
Bye.
Alex is next right here on Lake 96.1.
Main Street Messages with Alex. Brought to you by the Lake Geneva Business Improvement District.
All right, sweetheart, you've had your fun. Now let's get down to serious business.
Welcome to another edition of Main Street Messages with Alex Benanti, the Executive Director of the Lake Geneva bid at downtown Lake Geneva. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. The rain last week did not feel like winter. It was like 55 degrees the other day.
I
What
know.
happened?
My daughter said, spring's coming.
Woohoo! I know
Yeah.
it did. It like smelled like spring outside,
Yes.
right? Right. But that did not deter tourists because I did notice that downtown Lake Geneva, I had to run an errand, and we were really still pretty busy here in downtown Lake Geneva, even after the holidays and with the weather and stuff. I mean, they were not full. Don't get me wrong, but there was some foot traffic on the sidewalks. There were some people down there still enjoying some time off. So
Absolutely.
yeah. I need you to catch me up on something. Last week, there were a couple of meetings that were held, and they were kind of like think tanks for Lake Geneva and trying to project futures and talk about concerns and things like that. You were there. I wanted to go. I got caught up in something here. I could not go. So can you catch us up? Tell me, remind the listeners what that thing was called, how many people were there, what your experience was, what you heard, some overall, questions and answers and like you said, projections for the future of Lake Geneva. Take us through what those meetings, what you learned from those meetings.
Yeah, so it was a really exciting concept. The city of Lake Geneva, with hiring on their new city administrator, really took on the goal of looking at projections for, our development in the next 10 years.
Right.
So we do have a comprehensive plan at the city. Has it been extremely proactively updated or anything? Not necessarily.
Right.
Which is time consuming. It's a process anyway.
Well, yeah.
But so they're going to have to rebuild their comprehensive plan, but they've never done a strategic plan. And so for like
Interesting.
the common public, there is two different meanings behind that. The strategic plan gives you those big ideas of what our goals are.
Right.
How do we build that strategy? And then the comprehensive plan builds into every single department of the city so that you're looking at where our ordinances are, where our development dollars are going to go, where those tax dollars go. That's the comprehensive plan. That gives us the guidebook, essentially.
Right.
But, the think tank that was happening was getting public information from our locals to get an idea of what we see is happening, what are our concerns for the future, what are our wins in this town, and then get an idea of the future. So it was a really exciting thing for the city to get on board with this and want to build out a plan because we have so many big projects coming in and big purchases. Hillmore has talked about our lakefront, access is a consideration. New parks and recreation trying to be built. So it all blends together, and we needed to get in the room and have some local input.
Right. Well, and there's no better way to learn about new ideas or kind of be surprised by maybe how some solution is really pretty simple than to get into a room with a lot of collective minds and hash some of those things out, or at least be made aware of. There's concerns people aren't aware of from one side. Even in a small town like Lake Geneva, there are concerns from one side of town to the other that they don't know about. But I think that most importantly, one of the things that you mentioned that you learned as we were talking before the show was that that we all need to be on the same team, and a lot of times that's not happening.
Right. Yeah. One of the biggest, so in that, especially the first think tank, because it was progressive sessions. And the first one was really identifying what are the key markers for success.
Okay.
And many locals were explaining that they didn't feel a sense of community and didn't have a sense of communication to know what's happening in town. You know, they identified that, you know, we have some of our local media sources have, you know, decreased visibility. Not you, of course, but, you know, some of our print things.
True. That's true.
And that, you know, we have a lot of organizations. I mean, and in some ways competing, but, you know, we have, you know, a Visitor Bureau chamber from Visit Lake Geneva. You have the BID. You have the city itself. You have, you know, the Economic Corporation.
Right.
There's so many different players here, but the locals aren't getting the messages outside of our city hall meetings. And there's so much more to it. And, you know, I kept hearing around the room of like, we need to focus on historic preservation, of course. We have to focus on, you know, locals first and this, that, and the other issue that are all being talked about in all of our collective organizations.
Right.
And it was a real light bulb moment for me, particularly, that, you know, that channeling of that message and that being able to get our locals together in a room to talk about issues, to celebrate success, to get them involved is through our Main Street programming.
Right.
And, you know,
I was going to say, did you tell them about this segment? Because this is exactly what you're here to do.
Right. Well, so, and I did. I had a conversation with a local that fascinated me that, you know, he was like, yeah, I never hear about what's going on or local events or anything. And so, yes, I did. I was like, well, do you listen to our local radio station? Because every Sunday, you know, we're on here talking about the things. And
plus, you know, 24/7 the rest of the week, we talk about all the local stuff that's going on. So you're right. Yeah.
We are. Yeah. This radio station is a huge asset into that. And, you know, even our smaller papers is still covering a lot. But, you know, when we were talking about some of the initiatives for retaining business and for, you know, keeping local priorities, and that's so much of our focus. And it gave me the thought of, hey, we have to invest in promoting that Main Street a little bit further to get people involved because it seems like people are hungry for it. However, and the other interesting side of things is that the attendance of these think tanks were a lot of predominantly retired individuals and long generation residents.
Sure.
And it really broke down a dynamic of who we're representing. You know, and even the idea of residents versus tourists, we all hear it, you know, because we are a tourist town, but, you know, residents kind of separate from that. And there isn't always this love and synergy there. No. But even within who is local is completely different to who you ask the question to. You have again, multi-generationals that have been here, that their family home has been passed down to them. They've, you know,
not everybody can be Sean Payne.
Yes, right, Sean. But, you know, so you have that. You have the business community where I heard shockingly how many people thought that these business owners, not necessarily property owners, the business owners, you know, aren't from around here. They're all outsiders. But we have such a high demographic of our local residents being their business owners and business managers. And when I said that, you know, that there was deniability, being like, no. I'm like, I have some data on it, you know. You know, we have about 70% of our businesses are longtime residents here.
Interesting.
So that was a dynamic. But then you have
and can I just say, by the way, that a business owner, their primary residence is their business.
Right.
If you own the place, you're there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just a ridiculous statement to make.
Yeah.
But anyway,
so there was that dynamic. And then there was the transplant of, Lake Geneva of, you and I are transplants. But, you had the idea of, they're coming from Chicago or they're coming from else, they're outsiders. And it's a weird shift in seeing what the future will hold for development for us, because that mentality is fading out. It will be fading out.
It's the reason why we don't have a parking garage.
Well, yes.
Okay? Because there was a lack of communication. There was a lack of consistent communication on the advantages to both the residents of the city of Lake Geneva as well as the businesses of the city of Lake Geneva, as well as the tourists who come to visit the city of Lake Geneva. There was a complete lack of communication about how that was an advantage to everyone.
Yeah.
And so you're right. The cliques formed. The residents said, we don't need a parking garage. That's the business's problem. We're not going to vote for it. When the fact is that it was an advantage because we're all supposed to be one big team.
Yes. Yeah, and it is getting that messaging that, yes, there is a different atmosphere when we're, humming and busy consistently with the tourist season. 100% agree with that. But the locals are necessary to see that year round. They're part of it.
Right.
And they're part of the tourist season. The reason why they stay here is because they love the assets we have.
Right.
So, and yes, we do have to preserve those, and we have to be thoughtful on our development phases in the future. But we also have to look, one of the biggest takeaways I also took from here was the demographic research that we were given prior to even talking about, our perspectives.
Yeah.
Was that we see changing climate. We see changing population growth and global wide.
Sure.
Our geography is changing because, climate change, however it is. I'm not saying global warming. I'm not saying anything politically.
Stuff changes.
Stuff changes. The climate does change.
Erosion, all kinds of stuff
absolutely.
happens, right.
So the
It's
viability for agriculture needs are increasing dramatically in the next 10 years. And the shift in moving, which it is in existence now, because if you hear anyone that transplants here, you hear Midwest,
right.
Chicago,
Right.
You don't hear people from Florida or Texas moving here all that much because it's Florida or Texas.
Right.
But that global perspective is that that's going to shift where so much more population will be coming north in the next 10 to 20 years because of that agricultural component, that water, the water access and the ability of transportation. And so when you can't produce these cattle farms because the temperatures are too hot to sustain, you're going to have that shift. So we still have to have this agricultural viability here, which Walworth County has some great,
of course.
property.
Right.
So that has to be a consideration. But
Interesting.
You're right. I didn't even think of that ever.
No.
And I look at these kind of numbers all the time for trends for a business.
You can't farm on the lake.
Right. Can't farm on the lake. But then in addition to that, it is, our demographics right now are kind of branded as almost a retirement community in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And just based on the affordability of homes, these are mostly second homes that are then, retirement homes once they leave the city or wherever, their primary residence is. But that trend is fading because, let's face it, boomers are getting to the point of retirement, but their retirement funds aren't as plentiful as they were,
Right.
in the generation before. So they're projecting that in the next 15 years, we're looking again at a resurgence of more families needing to look here. Right now, we don't have that viability with our schools.
Right.
We have a great school district, but our attendance has been going low. Our affordability of homes are going lower. And so when you have this dynamic, we're going to look at a situation in the future where how do we maintain this population growth in the Midwest in general?
Right.
Not just talking about Lake Geneva because
Right.
we're landlocked. We're going to only have as much as we have.
Right.
But in general, we need staffing
Right.
for agriculture, for transportation. All of these things are still going to continue that are not going to be replaced with things like AI.
Right.
And you also have an emergence of AI technology that still needs other resources and employment possibilities and relocation.
Right.
So how do we do that so that we're sustainable as a multicultural, multi-generational, and multi-economic demographic that keeps us going? We can't all be rich. We can't all be poor. Where's the happy medium here that we can grow together? It's
interesting. People don't realize the size of the scope of what you have to look at when you're planning, like you said, whether it's strategic or comprehensive. You don't realize we're not just looking within the city limits.
No.
And so, and the word is within all this is relevant. Right? Ultimately, that's the word. And I don't mean like some trend or whatever. I mean, you have to be somewhere that people want to come and you have to continue to be somewhere that people want to come and visit. They want to come and work. They want to come and live. Given all of these factors, how do we stay attractive? Because just as many people are going to leave or die or move or whatever as are coming in, if not fewer. So we need extra housing, extra space in the school, extra. So yeah, that's just interesting. Like I said, people don't realize the scope.
No.
Yeah.
And, and I do understand the rightful concern of becoming only a tourist destination versus a living, breathing town of locals, because this could go a couple different ways in the future, where if we aren't careful, and because, as you said, things are going to phase out, eventually that relevance of our current community is going to age out.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have the building blocks to attract families, now we have corporate interests that are coming in for the non-historic, for the, it's going to be a lot of franchises opening up in our downtown and changing the whole vibe of the city. And in the short term, people are going to make money. The property owners are going to make money because they can pay that premium rent and all that situation. But a tourist comes here for an experience that is local driven.
Right.
And when that's gone, eventually they'll find the next place. So we don't want that to happen.
No.
We want to retain our local charm, our history, the heartbeat of why people are coming to this destination. Lots
That's
of places
interesting.
have a lake.
Sure.
So
But Lake Geneva is unique.
Yes.
There's a lot of things unique about Lake Geneva, and you're right. We have to keep that, but move forward, but not move forward. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, good luck with that.
Yes.
I don't know. Are there any more of those planned in the future? Like I know that there was one, like they were like Thursday and Saturday or whatever, but now moving forward, are there any more?
I'm not 100% sure for the local input sessions. I know that this contracted company has been meeting with local stakeholders and Common Council. I know that there will be some presentations about this at City Hall, and then we'll try to incorporate it in our own bid dynamics too, to be able to
we'll talk about it here too.
Yes.
Right. So, but you were absolutely right. I also, when people say, I don't get any information from here, I also find, and we don't have time to talk about it today, but I also find that a lot of times those are people who haven't tried to look for it.
Right.
Like, yes, we make sure that on our website here and on the show, on your Main Street segment, that we are encompassing events that are going on, not just in Lake Geneva, but we cover quite a bit of southeastern Wisconsin. We try to touch on those things, but the information is there. It's just not always delivered right into your arms like it used to be with a newspaper that was more accessible or whatever you want to call it. So I get it. But yeah, the information is there. We just have to figure out a way to get it to everybody all in one funnel. Funnel it to everybody. So Alex, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next week.
Yes.